And good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Linc'd In Podcast. Happy Thanksgiving to all the people out there watching here on the Sideline Sports Network airwaves. Of course, you guys know I'm your host with the most, getting freaky in the open field, like we saw Jalen Hurts getting freaky in the open field. Had that rushing touchdown to get the Eagles the win. Eagles come from behind 17-16 in the fourth quarter. We're going to talk about that game tonight.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the upcoming game against the Green Bay Packers. Eagles unveiling their all-black uniforms for the first time, black helmets against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday night. We're going to talk about some other stuff. The Eagles signed Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph. They both made an immediate impact in this game. And then, obviously, Thanksgiving, with the Thanksgiving theme in mind, we're going to talk about what Eagles players or coaches or whatever the case may be are you the most thankful for right now. So, Lindy, what's going on, bro? How you doing tonight?
Living the dream, man. It's like I said, backstage, and it's with Thanksgiving around the corner. I can't be more thankful for the career-changing opportunity I was given. So, yeah,
absolutely, man. We're all very happy for you.
Just the message of don't be afraid to chase your dreams, y'all, because you gotta love what you do at the end of the day. If you just like it, it's not enough. So
there's a difference between a job and a career. Always remember
yes,
that.
There is. Yep.
So obviously, we got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. So let's just get into it. So the Eagles' fourth quarter rally to beat the Colts. The Eagles bounced back after losing their first game of the season to Washington. The Eagles are 9-1 on the season. They are 2 games up on everyone in the NFC, I believe. So the Dallas Cowboys beating Minnesota, that impressive performance by them, it actually helped us more than it would have if Minnesota won the game. So we actually have more separation and everything like that. But this game did not go the way that we all hoped it would, at least until the fourth quarter, until it mattered the most. And Jalen Hurts made some clutch plays, had a nice game-winning drive as well. But first drive of the game, I got to give a lot of credit to the defense. First, because I'll tell you what my immediate reaction after the first drive of the game. Jonathan Taylor goes 7 carries for 49 yards or something. So he's averaging 7 yards carry. And I'm like, oh, here we go again, man. Like, this guy is going to go for 200 yards on us. But that was not to be. The Eagles' run defense really zoned in, and they shut Jonathan Taylor completely down for the rest of the game. Matt Ryan was under pressure for most of the game. The Colts offensive line was not able to do anything against the pass rush. Hassan Reddick made some big plays for us, especially that last sack that forced the field goal late, which we needed to, so we could still have a chance to win. But I got to give a credit to the defense. The defense was outstanding. So on the offense, this was the worst offensive performance of the season. All right, this was not good enough. Not putting points on the board, not being consistent, not extending drives, too many 3-and-outs. It did not look good. You had A.J. Brown in the fourth quarter, and you fumbles the ball right after the Eagles get a forced fumble on Jonathan Taylor. He fumbles the ball, just kind of reminiscent with this Quez Watkins against Washington, and we're like, here we go again. But somehow Eagles defense still gives the offense a chance, and Jalen Hurts connects and gets the job done in the fourth quarter. Nice game-winning drive by him, like I said. And Jalen showing the world that he is indeed a franchise quarterback. He pretty much carried the team. It was a bad offensive performance. Wasn't great by any means, but Jalen carried this football team. Keep in mind that the Eagles had 314 total yards of offense. He had 276 of that. So we're doing the math backstage. It's like Jalen accounted for 88% of the offense. So great job by him. Great job to do what we got to do to win the game. Another win in the column for the Eagles. That's what matters the most. 9-1 on the season, but definitely left a lot to be desired in this game.
I think you can. I think you can cut this however you want, but what it boils down to it when we were observing the Carson Wentz era when he was here, it was more about these type of games where is he the type of quarterback to really grind it out when you needed him most, when The coaches are trying to come up with an answer to figure out this defense. Is your defense holding them to a certain point total? And a lot of those elements were in play here in how the game finished out. I mean, as a whole, and I think I tweeted
Nick
this.
Silver in the house. What's up?
Yeah, I think I tweeted this. I think late in the first half or so. I don't remember, but at one point I did not recognize this Eagles team, particularly the offense, and like, no, I don't want to reminisce 2021 all
Yeah,
over
I think I
again
saw your tweet.
Because of everything that had transpired. And yeah, you brought up the point that we've seen the team only have about 315 total yards in this game, and I'm thinking, all right, well, for entertainment purposes, I'm doing the math on this to see what Jalen Hurts really accounted for. 88% of your team's total offense to be reflected by the quarterback. Something's kind of wrong there in terms of consistency, but those are what separates, a game manager that has to rely on, a coaching staff to really get him going in terms of play calling. That differs from a franchise quarterback taking the game over when you need him to most. And I think an easy example that you can reflect on was week 1 against the Lions. And I think it was 2 straight third down conversions, and then it was a fourth down conversion where we needed Hurts on a
converted
QB
like a third and
sneak.
15 with his legs in that
Yes, yeah, absolutely. So this was another prime example of, okay, Hurts has shown that franchise quarterback potential yet again, and the weeks are ticking by here, and you got to ask yourself, when do you think they're going to pay this man? I still don't think to this point
there's no more questions about, is Jalen Hurts a franchise quarterback of this team? If you don't believe that he's a franchise quarterback, you're clearly just in denial. There's nothing you can look from this season and say that he's not the guy. Jalen Hurts is the guy.
I still think there's a means. I still think there's a means of sustainability when it comes to the playoffs, because I know people are still I know people are still going to be skeptical by watching the performance last year against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that's very well warranted to this point. But you can't tell me 10 games into the season now that Jalen Hurts hasn't done enough to win you over. I think that's fair, because not every game was exactly the same. There was a lot of unique factors that make them different, especially with a game like this, for example, where your offense is plateauing at the wrong times. The Eagles, the entire second half, scored only 3 points, and I came off of a field goal in the second quarter. And the majority of their points is when they outscored the Colts in the fourth quarter 14-3. Again, money quarter, money downs. Yeah, cut it how you want. But, like we said, at the end of the day, the team scored when we needed them to the most. For the most part, the defense did their job in holding the – hold on here. The defense did their job in holding the second worst offense in the league to 16 points. Take of that what you will. Is there a level of impressiveness behind that? Maybe, maybe not. I think it's more about the impact that Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph had on this game in their first game, and trying to figure out the defensive terminologies and everything. And sure,
here's the defensive terminology that they needed to know. Tackle, splash, exactly. Stop the run. All the other crap, we ain't worried about that.
Yeah, no, but I still think it speaks volumes to know that the two of them split a sack in this game, to where meanwhile a guy like Fletcher Cox had absolutely zero, a goose egg. And I seen a couple of tweets on Twitter actually critiquing them of critiquing him of that, and he was saying I got time today and this and that, but that's not the here nor there.
And unfortunately, I have to say that I've been a guy that loves Cox, but he is not leaving me satisfied and smiling anymore. So it's very rare, but it's factual. It's factual. So I gotta say one thing though. I think that and we are going to get into like the additions of those guys. It's actually going to be our next topic. Yeah. But once we get Jordan Davis back and we have Linval Joseph and we still have Fletcher Cox and the boys here and Ndamukong Suh, I think that's kind of reminiscent of 2017. If you remember, you had a lot of guys there, depth on the D line, and that's
rotations.
That's what made us so lethal in 2017. But I want to touch up on Grizz's point real quick before we move on to our next topic. So he says Jalen is just tough mentally and physically and not rattled by anything. He just shows poise no matter the situation. Yeah, and about Jalen is he's not really like an emotional guy. Like if you see him, he doesn't get too high or too low. He maintains like the same calmness about him. Like you can see his facial expressions. He's got like the same like stone face. Like he just stays locked in 100% of the time, and I love that because a lot of guys get too emotional anytime there's a bad play, bad possession, bad drive, turnovers, what have you. Doesn't really affect him because he's staying locked in like that, and that's a true mark of a good leader and a franchise quarterback. So what's up, guys? Yeah. We need to also stop the fumbles. Definitely back-to-back fumbles with A.J. Brown and Quez Watkins. The A.J. Brown fumble did not cost us, even though it definitely could have, like the Quez one did. But the defense was able to help us out there. So next topic is going to be about these guys. We did not get to cover this last week because it happened after Tuesday. So Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph coming back to bolster the defensive line depth. Like I said, you get Jordan Davis back. He's supposed to be back in a couple of weeks. Some people are saying he could return against the Tennessee Titans. So as early as 2 weeks from now. That would be a huge boost to get him back because we know how much of an impact he has with the run defense. Having him in the fold with these other guys that we brought in, I really think that's going to put this defense in a lot better position, especially stopping the run, which we were struggling with quite a bit after Jordan Davis had his injury. So I think it's good. I was not expecting much of these guys, to be honest. I was like, it's a quick turnaround. These guys have been on the couch for however many weeks. Like, nobody wanted them. Is there a reason nobody wanted them? But for what we needed them to do, they came in and did it. So just push the offensive lineman back, tackle these guys. Don't let these guys run for 5-6 yards on first down, second down, and make it easy to go down the field. That's what they were able to do. If they're able to continue that, we get Jordan Davis back. The Eagles' defense is only going to get better. I was very impressed by their immediate impact that they showed in this first game against the Colts on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else you can, boil this down. Simply put, after the Commanders game, and I don't think it necessarily took after the Commanders game for Howie Roseman to realize that this run defense is an absolute problem.
But that was like the last straw.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, this was just built up. This had to have been built up frustration over, quite a number of weeks to where you look at this Jonathan Gannon defense and understand that, okay, I mean, teams are kind of iffy on running the football against us and, middle of the pack in attempts and 19th in yards, while, teams aren't getting a whole lot per se from a statistical standpoint. What's hurting us most is those chunk plays. And the Eagles, as of this week, are still 24th in the league in yards per attempt allowed at 4.6 a carry. That's kind of a problem when you're the 8th worst run defense in that category. And Howie, he goes, say no more. Reinforcements are on the way. I'm trying to fix the squad to keep us on a Super Bowl path. And, that's what good or great GMs do. They see a problem, they diagnose it, and come up with the best solution for that. And, and helping your coaching staff out to get that job done. Linval Joseph, good, obviously he's a good example of that. He's up there in age, around 34, about Jason Kelsey's age, but he didn't necessarily look it against the Colts, and it's the same, with these two veterans. And the Ndamukong Suh comes in, the two of them split a sack with each other on Matt Ryan, and that's what we were hoping for, is when you got an older stationary-esque type of quarterback that just send the hounds after him, especially when you have a Colts offensive line that just doesn't have that same type of respect that it used to for the last few years. And everybody talking about, Colts are always top 5 in terms of how good their offensive line is. You always heard the Colts, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Buccaneers were up there at one point. The Eagles have always been up there, and we were just able to take advantage of some weak points on their offensive line that they're dealing with right now. And simply put, between the pass rush and helping out the pass rush, you give Gannon some more packages to work with, and with his defensive rotations. And, but again, at the end of the day, it boils down to Howie understanding there's a problem. He wants to fix it because, I think it's like Slay said in an interview or something, that, Howie wants to see the confetti fly again. And simply put, that's the direction he wants to take.
Yeah, and you know what? He does that, and that's why Howie's probably, I don't know who else could give him a run for his money for executive of the year with off-season moves that he made, and then pulling something off like this late in the season when you really needed some help. Hopefully they can sustain the success that they have. But before we move on to the Green Bay Packers game and talking about the black uniforms and all this stuff, after this game was over, Nick Sirianni was very emotional. So I want to ask, what was your thoughts on when Nick Sirianni got hyped and he was basically like, this was for Frank Reich? Because my initial reaction was, a lot of people don't get this, but when you have a guy like Nick Sirianni that's so passionate and loves the game on the level that he does, Frank was a great mentor for him.
Yeah.
People that have never, been involved in sports at any level, there's certain people in coaches and people that you learn from, mentors, they have such a great impact on you. So obviously with the whole situation with the Colts, it does kind of feel like Frank was used as a scapegoat for them, for their problems. And then you just go out and hire a random guy like Jeff Saturday, who's on ESPN doing nothing, so he got very emotional, and, rightfully so, because Frank was used as a scapegoat. I mean, you're the Colts. You have extreme dysfunction with the quarterback position. You're pretty much digging up quarterback caskets and stuff and corpses because you can't replace Andrew Luck. It's like you get Phillip Rivers at the end of his career, you get Matt Ryan at the end of his career, and you go out and get Carson Wentz, who's, pretty much a has-been, and you expect to have results. That it doesn't work like that. So I really don't think Frank deserved to get fired. I think that the GM probably should have went before Frank, gave Frank another year. But it is what it is. I totally understand where Nick is coming from and why he was so emotional and excited. In his opinion, he wanted to win that game for his mentor, Frank Reich. I actually love it.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that, and expressing the amount of success that you have built in such a short time and dedicating it to a person who probably had the utmost faith in you to get something like this done. And I mean, you brought up the scapegoat point about Frank Reich and everything as a head coach, and I don't know if I would completely absolve him from, those issues that happened, only because I think with the whole Carson Wentz thing, it was said that, everyone was talking about that, Frank Reich is the only one that can fix him, and, this, that, and the third, and it ended up being almost a it ended up being a complete disaster at the end of the day. So I don't know if it's a means of that could have been handled a little bit better. I mean, yeah, Frank is not supposed to coddle Carson and take him by the hand and this and that because he's a grown man for what we know at least. Um, but no, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Sirianni acting this way, and if anything, it paints him in such a good picture, knowing that this is our head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, and how much of a level of passion he has in being a head coach and wanting this kind of success that he has developed this early. So yeah, no, I didn't have a problem with it at all.
Absolutely. And that seems like a good time to take us to the commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk about the Eagles releasing their black uniforms for the first time. But first, a word from Fanatics.
Sports fans are gearing up and saving big at Fanatics.com, the world's largest collection of officially licensed fan gear. From all the leagues, teams, and players you love, unique one-of-a-kind designs exclusively by Fanatics, and autographed collectibles from today's biggest stars shipped directly to your home. Join Fanatics Rewards for free to earn fan cash on every purchase. Shop now and for a limited time, get 20% off all orders. Fanatics.com, officially licensed everything.
Officially licensed everything, ladies and gentlemen. Go to Fanatics for all your sports team gear. Got the World Cup going on. Get some Team USA. Get, Eagles gear, whatever kind of gear that you want. Check the links in the description. It could really help us out. So the Eagles are going with the all-black uniforms for the first time. We are going to see the black helmets. The NFL changed the rules, which I always thought was a ridiculous rule, that you weren't allowed to have multiple helmets or for some reason because it was a safety concern. But, if you look in college, like, for example, a team like Oregon, Oregon is one of the teams that's known for having like 25 uniforms or something. Like these guys have all these helmets and stuff, all these college teams, they have helmets, and you're like, oh, it's a safety concern. It's not a safety concern. Like, it was one of the dumbest rules ever. Eagles are getting Kelly Green back next season, so I'll be interested to see what the Kelly Green design is going to be. Is it going to be just like the old uniforms, or is it going to be just like a modernized version of it? But that's another story. The all-black uniforms have always been good. I remember when they used to just have the black jerseys. Then it evolved later on in the Chip Kelly era, added in the black pants. Now here we are, black jerseys, black pants, and black helmets. It's going to be amazing. So I'm with that. I'm excited to see the black jerseys for sure.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool to finally see those on the field. And then I remember this was maybe last year or so. I think one of the only times that we are able to see, black gear like that is when you're, like when you're at a flea market or something, or one of those sports shops that have autographed pieces of memorabilia. And I remember, I didn't pull the trigger on it personally, but I seen an autographed Brandon Graham helmet that was all black with the white wings, for the eagle and everything. And I still wish to this day that maybe I could have taken it home. It was like $165, but no, it just looks absolutely sleek to me, and I think the Arizona Cardinals have something very similar to that too. There's a little bit of red in there, and but no, it's just it's an awesome design. I know it has to be pretty damn sleek to see it, and but yeah, I remember
anybody that hasn't
on
seen
Twitter.
it, this is what it looks like. You got the black helmet here. It looks pretty sweet, bro. Like, honestly, I'm very excited to see them wearing these jerseys and wearing these helmets for the first time. It's going to be awesome, and it's going to look intimidating. I mean, imagine you got a guy wearing like a black visor on top of that. Like, that's just going to be crazy. That's going to be crazy to see. But those are what they look like. Definitely exciting to see that stuff. So let's move on and let's talk about this game. you got the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Green Bay Packers, who have just not looked good this season. I mean, I have to say that I'm very surprised with how the season has gone for them. I did not expect them to take this much of a step back. I think I had them winning their division before the season started. I don't care if Aaron Rodgers doesn't have Devontae Adams and have all these weapons. He's still Aaron Rodgers. So that's why I was not willing to bet against them. And even now, I'm not really willing to, bet on the Green Bay Packers record. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a guy that throughout his career has caused problems for the Philadelphia Eagles. Beating him has been a very rare occurrence. I'm pretty sure last time that we actually beat Aaron Rodgers was, pretty much an interception on the 1 yard line. It was on a Thursday night game.
Yep.
I think I remember that game. But that was a crazy game. But Aaron, he usually gives us a lot of problems, man. And he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So I think we're going to have a good game plan on defense. I don't think Jonathan Gannon is going to want to, drop all these guys back and, leave all the easy space open. I don't think that's a good idea against Aaron Rodgers, because if you do that, then Aaron is going to completely pick you apart. And then as far as the run game, they have two very good running backs. I'm pretty sure A.J. Dillon, if he was on another team, he could probably be a feature back. This guy is pretty big dude. I don't even know what his exact measurements are, but guys, anytime you're watching a Green Bay Packers game, this guy just leaps out. No homo, but the guy is huge. He's huge. And Aaron Jones, he's slippery. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. He can make stuff happen. So you got to figure out a way to shut these guys down and make somebody else beat you. Their rookie receiver, Christian Watson, has been coming on strong. So it's not going to be an easy game. None of the games that we have for the rest of this, I don't think we really have any easy games. Should we win this game? Absolutely. But this is not going to be an easy game. It is Aaron Rodgers. We have to have a great game plan. We cannot make the mistakes against him, because if we do, it will make us pay for it, because that's what great quarterbacks do. But Green Bay being 4-7 doesn't really move me. I still see this as a challenge and a tough game that the Eagles are going to have to play some really good football if they want to come out and win.
Yeah, no, and you were talking about what A.J. Dillon's exact measurements are. He comes in at 6 foot, about 250.
That's a huge dude, bro. I would not want to tackle him.
So he's only 24 years old. Came out of Boston College, and for what we have known A.J. Dillon to be in this Packers offense is that he's the guy that's going to get the chunk yardage. Between him and Aaron Jones combined, they are
nobody wants to tackle that big ass dude.
So if I have the total right here off the top of my head, it looks like 1,245 yards combined of rushing offense. So as a duo, they're completely killing it. Aaron Jones averaging 5.4 a carry. AJ Dillon is at 4. So I mean, again, we're gonna be up at we're gonna be what's the phrase? We're going to be against it again. As hold on, statistically, let me bring this up here. I almost lost my window. Wanted to bring this up. We just talked about this in the segment before last, when we added Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph to this lineup here in the D tackle rotation and talking about it. When you have a Green Bay offense that averages 4.8 yards per carry, that is 8th best in the league against the 24th rushing defense that is allowing 4.6 a carry. That can be a recipe for disaster, especially that you have two running backs that can do a substantial amount of damage. And and I understand this is coming off of, I think it was one drive alone or 3 drives combined that Jonathan Taylor had 45 of his 84 yards. And the run defense made the proper adjustments to really hold Jonathan Taylor. But now you're not dealing with one back here, you're dealing with 2. And to the point that we have known Aaron Jones in his career so far, that, well, Aaron Jones is another one of those dual threat backs that can not only carry it, but he can split out. And
Aaron Jones has always been so overlooked.
Yes, yeah. So I mean, and especially for a running back that has a catch percentage of 82%, which in those situations he's reliable to Aaron Rodgers. That leads all receivers in that category with let's say a minimum of 30 targets, and the next best receiver is tight end Robert Tonyan at 80%. So just take that into consideration. Things going against the Packers here. Their secondary isn't what it used to be. They're not very good. Across the board in terms of pass defense. Yeah, they're number 2 in the league and number 5 in the league in terms of passing yards and pass attempts allowed. But they're bottom 12 combined on average when it comes to yards per attempt and touchdowns allowed. So that kind of tells me that they're gonna let people go down the field a little bit, but it seems in that case that they do have a good red zone defense. So it's gonna depend on how we attack them from that. So let me see. After making that assumption, red zone defense wise, they are 13th in the league. So there you go. They are 8th on 3rd down, and they are 12th on 4th down. So. So we thought against the Colts that we missed Dallas Goedert in that game. Oh, well, it might be the same case again.
They have to adjust the offense without Goddard. I mean, I know losing a guy like Goddard is tough, but you're gonna have to do some different things, man. I think that we need to do some more 4 receiver looks. I think we need to get Pascal on the field a little bit more, run some sets with him and Smitty and AJ and Quez all on the field together, and see if we can make something happen. I mean, Nick Sirianni, he started
empty sets, yeah.
He started his career as a receiver coach, so he knows how to coach these receivers. He knows how to get the best out of them. So I think that getting Smitty more involved in the offense, I think we started to see him. He was making some big catches for us against that Colts team. So I think that getting Smitty more involved, getting all these guys more involved is something that we're going to have to do just so we can tread water until we get Goddard back. We should be able to get him nice Christmas present, Christmas Eve against the Cowboys. Dallas Goedert potentially coming back to the lineup, as reported by Adam Schefter. So I just think there needs to be some adjustments made. Losing Goddard, we know, is a huge loss, just like losing Jordan Davis was a huge loss, but we have to adjust to it. We brought in some guys to do that. So now we're going to have to do it on offense, adjust to Dallas Goedert being out.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the easiest setbacks that you can say for the Packers here is probably Aaron Rodgers. I mean, this is probably one of his worst statistical seasons. He is more of a high completion percentage passer right now. He's sitting at 65 yards per attempt is just under 7. I think he's usually around the low to mid 8s in that category, if not better. Yards per game is still up there at about 230. But where he's really coming down is his QBR. He's below average right now at a 42. And, for an Aaron Rodgers standard, that's I don't think that's anywhere near acceptable to a back-to-back MVP quarterback. I don't think it's even close. And one of the easiest outliers here to directly, to say that is directly impacting him is the loss of Devontae Adams. But it seems as of late, Christian Watson is starting to come into his own a little bit. So that's a good sign. Robert Tonyan is still there, although I do think he's battling an injury right now. I don't remember, but he still has. So he still has Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb. Randall Cobb came back over there. He has Sammy Watkins here and there. So it's not that he has nobody to throw to, but it's just Devontae Adams was
chemistry with any of these guys.
And I think Devontae was such a security blanket to him, where when you go to your best guy. Yeah, it was a situation where you go to your best guy when you need him most. And for so many years, it's been Devontae Adams. And now no one else on that receiver core has the same rapport to properly take his place in those situations. And that's where a lot of the suffering is coming from. But nonetheless, is this to say that 100%. The Packers as a whole are completely inept? I don't think so, because their defense is still average. But what's hurting them the most is putting points on the board. When you're the 6th worst offense in the league with a 2-time, back-to-back MVP in Aaron Rodgers, something definitely has to be wrong.
But let's not forget that they did just put up 31 points against the Cowboys defense, which isn't allowing a lot of points this year. Although we do know that Aaron Rodgers historically owns the Cowboys, so we pretty much knew. We pretty much knew what was going to happen if the Packers were going to have one great game, it was going to be that game. But still, I'm saying, Aaron Rodgers, to me, people could say he's having a down year, people can say this and that, but a down year for Aaron Rodgers is a career year for a lot of guys in the league. And I think we got to remember that. So that's why I think having a great game plan is vital this week, because you can't go out and you can't give Aaron Rodgers the easy throws. You can't line Darius Slay and Bradbury up 10 yards off and do all this crap that we've seen Jonathan Gannon do in the past this season. The stats are so misleading to me when everyone talks about how great the defense has been, because I've seen teams go down the field on us, but we have this bend don't break approach. I think if we do that against Aaron Rodgers, I think it could be a problem. I think what Jonathan Gannon needs to do is stop doing this bend don't break, all this stuff. You gotta be more aggressive. You have the personnel on your defense to be aggressive. You have some really good defensive linemen. You have some guys that are on the edge that can go get the quarterback. You got Sweat and you got Reddick, who are both really good. Those guys have been balling. You got some pretty good linebackers now. Linebacker core is the best it's probably been in years. You got a really good secondary. The secondary is by far the best that it's been probably since way back up in the day when we had Sheldon Brown and Lito Shepherd and those boys and Brian Dawkins on the back end. Think about how long ago that was. That was the last great secondary we have. When we had our Super Bowl run, those years when Jenkins was here, Jenkins was really the only great player that we had in that secondary. We didn't really have anyone else. But this secondary is so well-rounded. Point is, you have all the pieces. Go be aggressive. What are you I don't understand. What is Jonathan Gannon afraid of? Why are you afraid to blitz? Why are you afraid to try to put more pressure on the quarterback to make him make certain decisions? I think you can't give Aaron Rodgers the easy stuff. If you do, that guy's going to pick you apart. It's just what he does.
When you have help on the back end that's not going to give up a lot of easy completions, that's when you understand you're in a position of okay, well, we can let the defensive line pin their ears back and really plow over the O line and get to the quarterback, and um, you know, and to branch off of that, you want to take a guess how many statistical categories the Eagles are number one in as of right now?
How many? 5, 6,
Four.
4.
The Eagles are number one in interceptions. They are number one in yards per attempt allowed at 4.6. They are number one in turnover percentage at 20.4%. And they are number one in the league in turnovers with 20. They are top 5 in an additional 1, 2, 3, 4 categories with average drive, with average starting field position defensively at 26.4. They are second in yards allowed. They are second in passing yards allowed and fifth in touchdowns allowed. Most of those statistics had to do with the secondary. You cannot have a
Secondary's balling.
you cannot have a bad secondary and be able to, rush the passer and blitz as much as you would hope. I mean, it's just that's just how the simplicity of it works. But nonetheless, I think it boils down to a lot of times when Gannon decides to blitz, whether it's too early or too late, and that bend don't break style of defense that we have watched for how many years, especially stemming from Jim Schwartz. There is a little bit of merit behind that, like a legitimacy to where you understand Gannon isn't prioritizing yards per se, but he's prioritizing 2 other things. He's prioritizing forcing turnovers, and he's prioritizing keeping points off the board. If those 2 things can't go hand in hand,
He doesn't care if you go all the way down the field, but if
day.
you kick a field goal, then that's what he cares about.
Pretty much, yeah. He's absolutely prioritizing preventing touchdowns. But if forcing turnovers and preventing points can't go hand in hand, then you're in for a long day.
Definitely. And you know what? As long as the Eagles do what they got to do to get the win, I guess that's all that matters. Get to 10-1, and we will go from there. So, guys, we're nearing the end of the show. We've got one more topic to get through.
That is a good point, X Factor, though. No, we haven't.
We're keeping the theme with Thanksgiving. So, first of all, if I haven't said it already, I think I said it at the beginning of the show. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope everyone has a great holiday and all that kind of stuff. So, it's important to remember the things in life that we're thankful for. Linda, you're mentioning your career change, so we're happy for you for that. Happy to be thankful for a lot of things, but what about the Eagles? Like, which Eagles, I guess not only this season, but even for all time, if you want to say something like that, like, who are your Eagles that you're really, really thankful for?
Yeah,
it's a very tough question, but
it is a tough one because I mean I think you can say there's plenty of players that you can put in this category, especially ones that not so much revolutionize a position, but and this may be talking about it in a similar light, but change the way we think about how a position is played. And one person that easily comes to mind for me is Jason Kelce, and just how he has been able to sustain the level of play that he has for how many years now, multiple Pro Bowls, and
All pros.
and just the lack of faith people put in him to think that he was going to succeed, and everyone's saying that Sam Malu is going to be his replacement, and this, that, and the third, because he's an undersized lineman, but he really prioritized athleticism, and he is game in and game out. Jason Kelce, if you're a fan of offensive line play or line play in general, he is such a treasure to watch. What he is able to do to manipulate how angles are taken, and fits, and D lines trying to disrupt the run, especially how he's just able to get to the second and third levels with no problem and just leave a giant lane open for any running back to take. And he's been unbelievable to this point. So I'm thankful for him. I'm thankful for all of the Eagles Hall of Famers that we have had, and stemming from coaches and quarterbacks, you name it. Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, Harold Carmichael, just Reggie White, Brian Dawkins, Jeremiah Trotter. The list goes on and on and on for those types of players. But I also have to. I think I also have to specifically be thankful for Jalen Hurts, as cliche as it may be to this point, to watch the disaster that 2020 was, and for Hurts to come in with all the confidence in the world and help this franchise, along with Sirianni and a lot of the new faces on the coaching staff, help them hit the reset button and make us look like a legitimate Super Bowl contender again in as little as less than 3 years. I think is just
amazing,
phenomenal to say the least. So I think the position we're in now gets taken for granted, that he's still receiving such ridiculous criticisms. Just ride the wave and see where it takes us. Just do that first,
too. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, I hear everything you're saying. I mean, you can even think back to when Jalen got drafted. I mean, there are a lot of question marks about that, and he has answered all the questions since then. So definitely ain't gonna knock you for putting him on your list. But for me, I'm sorry, but I gotta put Nick in this conversation, man. The story of Nick Foles is it is an inspiration. I don't think people understand the magnitude. A lot of people just look at Nick Foles. Oh, he came in and won a Super Bowl. But Nick is more than that, man. You got to understand where this guy came from. He was drafted by the Eagles. He was supposed to be our next franchise quarterback. 27 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in 2013. He gets traded for Sam Bradford, who stinks. I hate Sam Bradford. When we traded for Sam Bradford, I was so disgusted, bro. We could have got any quarterback, but we had to get this doofus that was a cross-eyed, deer in headlights, statue in the pocket. I could not stand Sam Bradford. I absolutely couldn't stand him. So he goes to St. Louis, and he's with Jeff Fisher. And we all know Jeff Fisher is one of the worst coaches. And it's where most quarterbacks, their career goes to die being coached by him. Quarterback. And it literally became so bad that Nick was like, bro, I'm going to retire. I can't do this crap anymore. And he's on a camping trip, and Andy Reid calls him, and he's like, hey, bro, come Kansas City, be the backup quarterback. And that's kind of what revitalized Nick's love for the game. And then he signed as a free agent to be the backup for Carson Wentz in 2017, and Wentz gets hurt. The rest is history. Nick's performance of the NFC Championship game, where he absolutely lit up the Vikings defense, who had one of the top defenses that year, comes in, throws for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns, goes in the Super Bowl, throws for 370 and 3 touchdowns, and he has the receiving touchdown, the Philly special. And he went toe-to-toe for Brady, and he was unfazed in that game. Doesn't matter that Tom Brady was completely lighting us up. He was not scared by the pressure of being in the biggest stage against the greatest quarterback of all time. So that is a performance that people will never forget. So I got to say I'm thankful for Nick Foles, but I'm thankful for a lot of the players on the team. I'm thankful for the great players that we've had in history. Brian Dawkins definitely was one of my childhood favorites. And then, just like he said, Jalen Hurts, like this guy is also inspirational. Coming from college, getting benched for Tua, oh, he's never going to make it in the NFL. Comes in, we're using him as a gadget player. We're not giving him a fair chance. Even though Carson Wentz is playing so bad, like he should have been playing earlier than he was. The only reason he wasn't is because Carson was on such a high salary, and guys don't get benched on a high salary until like they absolutely have to. So they got to the end of the season, last 4 games, they're just like, you know what? Let's just see what this kid can do. We might as well. And last year, I think, was a really big year. We didn't have the success in the playoffs, obviously get smoked, but it was a good year to set the foundation, making it to the playoffs, establishing a certain type of culture that we want to have with Sirianni and Jalen. And then this year, it's taking it to the next level. And I think the more years that we have together, I think there's going to be a long time of having success with these two guys in our franchise. So a lot of stuff to be thankful for, but those are definitely the ones that come to mind first off the top of my head.
Dougie P.
Dougie Fresh. Yeah, I love Doug. I wish him the best. Sad that it didn't work out towards the end. But the dude, we would not have won the Super Bowl without him, because you gotta understand, like, everyone says Frank Reich was this genius and everything, and I give Frank Reich the credit, but Frank Reich was like the brains in the room. But Doug was like he had the balls, like he wasn't scared to go for it. It got to the point where he got kind of crazy with going for it, where every game we would go for it, no matter what the situation was, and we always went for 2-point conversions, which kind of got people a little bit crazy. But the dude, you got to respect it. That's who he was, and that's who he is. And I don't think if we didn't have Doug, we wouldn't have done that. So I appreciate Doug. What's up, Nina? Thanks for tuning in tonight. All right, so I think that's about it that we have time for tonight. Like I said,
Uh-oh. You realize you muted out? I don't think he knows.
you have the Bills playing the Lions.
There you go.
You have the Bills playing the Lions. What I was saying was, I would say enjoy the football, but guys, how are you going to enjoy the football? Bills Lions to start off. Second, you got the Giants versus the Cowboys, and then you wrap up the day with the greatest quarterback matchup in Thanksgiving. You have Mac Jones against Kirk Cousins on primetime, and we know that Kirk Cousins is so trash on primetime. It's just a complete disaster. It's a disaster. But other than that, everything else should be checking out pretty good on Thanksgiving. Hope you guys enjoy the holiday and everything. Linda, you got any last words before we sign off for tonight?
No, I can't think of anything else other than, yeah, man, it's like this is the time of year again, Thanksgiving and Christmas, and
good luck with your holiday shopping. Black Friday deals, whatever. Good luck with that, because I know it's going to be pretty crazy.
See me if you want a car too. I'm not quite there yet, but yeah.
There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, with all of us here at the Linc'd In Podcast and Sideline Sports Network, we'll see you guys next time. LinkedIn Country, let's ride.